Hello, and thanks so much for tuning in to Clear into Balance. My name is Jamie, and on this channel, I remind you that you are a powerful spirit having this human experience, and therefore you can create or change anything that you want. Today, I want to talk about the beauty of death, and those words don't often go in the same sentence. I think here in the United States, especially, which is my only experience of as far as where I've lived somewhere and grown up here, is that death is often like pushed away. Almost like if we avoid talking about it, we won't have to face it, or we won't have to go through it, or I don't know, like we just avoid it. And I just think that's really unhealthy, because for me in my life, and I know that I've always been just a really inquisitive person, like my whole life. Like I've always wondered about things, why they are the way they are, why people, act the way they do the things they do. I've always just wondered about big questions. And even as a kid, I remember, losing someone in the family who was really close to us. And that really pushed me to think about death a lot. And I remember thinking of wondering if this is it. Like, is this body all we get? And back as a kid, I felt like, no, I felt like we go on from here. And I had no idea what that looked like. I just knew that there was some kind of afterlife. Like, I knew it didn't just end with this body. And now I realize it's because kids are still really tuned into their spirit when they first come into this body, into this reality. And so they know things. That's why little kids talk about past lives and things that, you wouldn't think that they would know about, subjects you wouldn't think they would know about. It's because they still remember those things. But so as a kid, I would just wonder about things like this, right? And it's led me to wonder about things as adult. I lost a really good friend of mine from high school when we were in our early 20s. And it was a big blow to me. And I really cared about this person, and it was really eye-opening to me, being that I was I think I was 22 or so, and it really made me view life differently. It made me view my time with people that I cared about differently. It made me want to go and live life to the fullest. It made me want to be around the people that I cared about most, and I think a lot of us will have those moments like that, and then you just get back to living your daily life and you sort of let those realizations slip. But for me, I've lost a lot of friends. After he died, I lost other friends at young ages, mid-20s, 30. And, then I went on to be a nurse in the hospital on an adult oncology floor. And so I was taking care of people at the end of their lives who had switched to being comfort care. So I've been around death a lot in my life. And honestly, I think it's shaped me as a person in a really good way, because I don't view death as scary. I don't view death as the end. And I view it as a natural part of life. And I really think that we can reframe death when we realize that we go on from here. And I know some people are on the fence about life after death, reincarnation, things like that. I've come to know that reincarnation most definitely happens. I'm very solid in that knowing through my own holographic kinetic sessions, where I've been walked back to past lives and seen so many lives I've lived, so many places that I've lived, and cleared issues that way. So, it's not just going back and visiting them and being like, oh, that's neat. I, was Native American in the far north of the United States. Or it's like I'm clearing issues at the root cause as well. So the emotions that come up, the real life feelings that come up, and then the shifts that I get after my holographic kinetic session is all I need to know that reincarnation most definitely happens. And so when you realize the spirit of us is eternal, is with us through all of this life, is with us through past lives, which are just happening now, because time isn't even what we think it is. everything is happening now. That's why there's so much power in living in the present moment, because everything is happening right now. And, you know, it's just really interesting because I think like death makes life precious. If we allow it, death can make life really precious. I've seen it also make life really scary for some people who fear death. But I think like for me, knowing that my spirit goes on, it's like, what is there to really fear? Like, we've done this so many times, right? It's inevitable that we're going to do it again, and we never know when that's going to be. That's what makes life so precious, is that we eventually die. If we just knew that we live forever, as in terms of in this physical body, we would probably live very differently. Or I would live very differently, you know, because it would be like, oh, I have plenty of time to do all the things. And instead, I live with an awareness, a healthy awareness that this body will eventually give out and I'll move on to the next one. And to me, that's a thing of beauty, because we can use that to sort of catalyze our lives in a way to go and do the things that we've been wanting to do, to not wait on it. I think everybody gets to the end of their life, and, you know, there's been the hospice nurses that have written books or articles and things like that about regrets that people have on their deathbed. And I think it's fair to say that so many of us live as if we always will have more time. And that's how it feels, right? We wake up, we live the same day, we go to sleep, we wake up, we live the same day. Like, it can feel like that's always going to be that way. But as a mom, you know, I felt like that watching my son grow up. When he was little, it felt like every day was nearly the same. You know, he would do the same things, want to play with the same things. We would go and do the different activities, but like all in all, it just every day felt the same, you know? And it felt like that was always going to be the way it was. Like, that he was never going to grow up, because it just felt like all these days were just strung together similarly. And I watched as he most definitely has grown up. And those days are so fleeting. And the days of our lives are fleeting. And I think there's also this feeling that I have from knowing that my spirit goes on, that like not too much scares me in this life, you know, like nothing can use death against me to scare me into doing things. For instance, like, I can't be scared into doing something for threat of death. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me, because I'm just like, okay, well, whatever, then I'll die. Like, it's gonna happen eventually anyway. But yeah, anyway, I just think that we push death away and we push death down and we try to avoid the topic. And here in the United States, we don't really talk about it. It's kind of a hush hush, behind closed doors, only in funeral homes do we really face it. And even then, we try to ignore it and forget about it. And I think it's one of the most unhealthy things that we can do is ignore death, because when we ignore death, we think that we have all the time in the world. And that's the point I was trying to make with the end of life. It's like a lot of the regrets are they thought they'd have more time, you know. People wish they lived more life while they could. And I've read something where someone says, you know, I like to wake up in the morning, pretend that I'm a 90-year-old woman, and that I get to wake up at my current age and live life over again and do all the things that I wished I would have done. And I just think it's a beautiful way to look at things, because we can get so wrapped up in our day-to-day lives that we sort of forget the preciousness of this body anyway that we've been given. You know, we've come into this particular body and this particular family and this particular place for a reason, and lots of reasons, I think. And, you know, I think it's up to us to use it to the best of our ability to expand and grow and learn, and also just enjoy it while it lasts. I think that's one big thing we're meant to do, is enjoy this life while it lasts. And I think sometimes jumps into the unknown can feel scary, but honestly, what's scarier, you know, jumping into the unknown and doing something you've always wanted to do, or staying put and settling for a life they don't want? For me right now, I'm on kind of like this precipice between this life and my dream life, and I'm finding it a very interesting balance of just really appreciating where I am right now, because I love what I've set up for myself here in my oasis with all of these beautiful plants and being close to my family for a change. And yet I know that this isn't all there is for me, and I know this isn't all that I want for myself in life. And so it's an interesting time, because I've already envisioned what I want for my life. I've gotten really clear on the vision for my life, and have been shown so many signs that not only is it possible, but that it's all lining up, and that my future self is already living it. But like, it's interesting because even in this place where I'm so excited to go and do the things I've been dreaming of doing for so long, I feel this nostalgia for my current life, nostalgia for this time and place. And it's making me like think things like, have I been living fully enough here? Am I doing enough art? Like, am I using this solitude and quiet oasis that I've set up for myself to do enough art? Like, am I seeing my family enough? Like, am I enjoying getting to be around them enough? Like, should I be doing more, you know? And I also realize in thinking all of that I'm doing exactly what I have needed to do for myself to get to the clarity I have, to get the healing that I've gotten, and realizing that like there's really nothing for me to do but be. But I think like as humans, and for me, I'm always like looking at things in a growth mindset of like, and also like realizing that this isn't gonna be what my life is for the rest of my life, right? Like, this time is short. This time is a blip. And I just want to make sure that I'm like living it to the fullest, like that I'm enjoying it the most that I can, that I'm taking the most advantage of this time and space that I have to myself in this solitude time, because life moving forward is going to be very different for me, and I'll share more as it happens, but I'm not sharing it before I manifest it. I've learned to not do that in general, because other people can come in with their projections or their negativity, telling you what's possible or not possible, and I just am not open to hearing that. I don't welcome that energy into my life. So at any rate, but yeah, it's just interesting. I took a walk today and I was just thinking about death and what it's taught me, what I've seen, you know. And in the hospital, taking care of people who were dying, it just really made it, that's where I really started feeling comfortable with death, even though initially it shook me up a bit to be that personal with it. Meaning like using my stethoscope to pronounce somebody as having died, like that was new to me at that point in my life. I had never been around somebody who was dying that imminently, nor had I had to tell their family that they had died. And so it took some getting used to. I'm not going to say that it was comfortable the whole time, but through that experience of taking care of all these people at the end of their life, it just got to be a very normal thing. And that's when I stopped fearing death, is when I started seeing it as such a normal part of life. You know, it's happening every day. And I think when we live life the way that we want to, when we do the things that we've always wanted to do, when we take advantage of the people that we love in our lives, like meaning spending time with them as much as we can, doing the things with them that we want to, telling them the way we feel about them, sharing things with them, there's nothing to regret. Death is nothing to fear then. I think it's when we're not living what we want, when we're not following our heart, when we're not, you know, spending time with the ones that we love, when we're not speaking our truth, that's when we can have regrets. That's when death feels scary, because you're basically leading a life unlived. When we lead a life unlived, it can make death very scary. But death, in fact, is just a natural part of life. It's just an inevitable part of life that makes these moments, this breath, waking up every day, that much more precious. And I think when we allow ourselves to view death as that way, as just like an exit from this body into another body, it becomes a lot less scary and much more natural, which is what it is in the first place. And it can allow us to blossom into the person that we came here to be, to do the things that we came here to do, if we let it just catalyze us into those forms. So I hope you have a beautiful day. Please like and share, subscribe if this resonates with you, so that we can get this message to other people who need it. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in.